Well, good evening there, folks. Live to discuss the 1978 Flagship. Got Superman in my background. We are talking about the 1978 Superman, folks. Yeah, for 1978, and we had just had Jaws a couple years prior. Jaws 2 had watching it now. It's campy as hell, and so still so great. And of course, 1978 it stars, of course, the great late Christopher in it as well. The late great Gene Hackman plays Lex Luthor. Have Glenn Ford portrays a very get of him, but it's really done well. But if you are not familiar also with Superman 1978, this is the first outing of a movie version of the great Superman as well. This is the first time we got him on the big screen. Of course, before this, we had several TV show iterations and little shorts and stuff like that they had from, the 40s and 30s and so forth since the inception of the comic book itself. Of course, a part of DC Studios, DC Comics. That this comes from. This film was not by DC Studios at the time because there was no DC at the time. This is from Warner Brothers, which pretty much owns all those things now. So it's kind of like DC Studios, but before that time frame. But I just kind of want to get an idea of what your thoughts going into this film was. How long has it been since the last time you saw it, or is this your first watch? And kind of just your overall thoughts going into this film. I'll start with you, Jeff. I know you're not a big Superman fan, but what were your thoughts going into watching this, or how many times have you seen it?
Yeah, this is actually my first watch. I think probably that I can remember because I have no recollection of ever as a kid ever watching this film. It was never recorded by my parents or my family, so it never was in rotation in terms of what was available to me to pick from, and it never really tantalized me either as a kid to rent or anything like that. I'm not a big Superman fan, really, to be honest with you. I've skipped a lot of Superman movies over the years, just flat out not watching them. Over the years, the different iterations of Superman that have come out over the decades, I've skipped several of the films and not watched several of them, just because I had no real interest. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, for its time, on paper, even from my somewhat novice knowledge of what popular actors were in the 70s, I know that this was an ensemble cast that they put together essentially for this film. I get that, that's on paper, you can see that. The names are all there, they do a good job of trying to provide a lot of the staple characters from the Daily Planet and all that. They try to make all that happen, right? That's all cool. It's good. It works. I mean, as far as my expectations and all that, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have a lot, like you said, a lot of this stuff, coming from 1978, it's really campy, really campy. And I don't know. I mean, some of the love scenes, some of the Lewis and Superman romantic stuff or whatever, I don't know. It wasn't necessarily what I was expecting. I'll put it to you, I guess, that way. We'll talk about it in the movie, but I mean, when she's they're expressing her thoughts while she's flying with Superman, I thought that was the dumbest shit ever. I was like, what the fuck is this? There's a weird sexuality that this film has. I don't know. It's weird, but it's not bad. It's just weird. It's different. how they did Lois Lane, like, you know, that like this version of Lois Lane is interesting, you know. This actress, Margot Kidder or whatever her name is, I don't know. To be honest with you, I never thought she was like one of my favorite Lois Lanes, you know, to tell you the truth. Like she's very synonymous with the character, you know, because she played the, you know, the character or whatever, however many times, right? 2 or 3 times, right? So she's kind of synonymous with it. But yeah, I mean, overall, like it definitely I get that, you know, like why the movie has classic status and all that stuff, you know. It just doesn't really hold up that well compared to like the more future renditions of Superman that we've seen recently in the last 10 years, right? They've come a really long way with what they can do with Superman on film now, you know. What with digital effects and, you know, and all that, you know, I mean, things have really changed a lot since 1978. So yeah, I mean, overall, like I appreciate the you know, the value of the movie for, you know, for what it is, but I don't plan on watching it again anytime soon. I'll put it to you that way, Cyber.
Okay, Mr. Andres, same question, sir.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be the more positive one here. I love this movie. I mean, I'm not a big Superman guy. Everyone knows I'm a Batman fan, but I mean, this movie is very important. I mean, in terms of superhero movies. I mean, this is the first one, and you know, yeah, I can acknowledge, you know, already, you know, you know, yes, it's of its time, but I mean, you have to understand that that's, you know, some films will be timeless, some will be outdated, and you know, this one you can tell is from the 70s. You know, not too much as certain 70s movies, but we'll get into that. But yeah, it's a great Superman adaptation. I mean, Richard Donner, the late great Richard Donner, did a really great job directing this film. I mean, it's incredible. But yeah, so when I was growing up, when back in 2006, when Superman Returns was coming out, everything was Superman fever. So I was able to get the 4-box, like, you know, Superman collection. So when I was a kid, I saw all the Christopher Reeve 4 movies, and you know, countlessly, and then until I realized, yeah, 1, 2 is best, 3, 4, oh my god, they're so bad, and you know, there is my review of those 4 Reeve films. And recently, my last time I saw this movie was actually 2 years ago. I was supposed to do, I think, a review of something with my friend, but then he didn't see this film. Like it was crazy. So we didn't review that. That was the last time I rewatched that film. It was like 2 years ago. So it was pretty. So this rewatch was pretty like fresh in my mind. Yeah, great film, fantastic. You know, origin story, one of the best. You know, origin story. You know, superhero origin. I mean, it's, I mean, iconic. I mean, man, Chris Reeve is still Superman. I mean, even when watching it, it's like he still gets it. I mean, it's like, it's just really up to you what kind of Superman you really want. Like, if you want the dark and, you know, gritty one, you got, you know, Henry Cavill, or the Arrowverse one, or you really want, you know, a more comic book version, you can watch the DCAU, you know, Superman, or, you know, whatever, you know. But, you know, Chris Reeve just, like, just perfectly embody Superman. But yeah, and this movie, we'll get into it. I mean, this movie, like, hugely influenced, you know, Superman in general, and comic books and movies, which we'll get into in the beginning part. But yeah, I still like it. It's well paced. It's you know, the score by John Williams is still iconic. All the performances is good. You just have to keep in mind there's certain things, like, you know, Lex Luthor is not, you know, the Lex we know today. You know, it was a different time. He was still the mad scientist during this time. It was just before Crisis happened. So you have to keep that in mind. So a lot of things you have to keep in mind for this film, but it's still great. Yeah, there's the things, you know, like, I agree with Jeff, like, we don't need that, like, crazy read my mind thing. But overall, it's still a pleasant film, one of the top, you know, superhero films in my list. I mean, still the best Superman movie. None like can beat this one. So, but we'll get into it later.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. So, very well done, guys. Yeah, I mean, I've seen this a few different times over the years. I probably watched it for the first time only probably maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago or so. And I just remember thinking that this was a very interesting film, and I liked that, it kept pretty accurate to the comic books, and that they really took their time in trying to make it as comic book accurate as possible. And I just remember falling in love with Christopher Reeve's Superman because he felt like Superman. He looked like Superman to me. And, his look and everything compared to like the comics, I felt was very on point. And there was something about Christopher Reeve that just, it felt like he was Superman. Just his whole persona, his whole, thought process of how he acted the character. And it worked out well. And I think that's what made the film very good. And also, I think what made the film good was just the great, ensemble cast they got, with Marlon Brando and Ned Beatty and Terrence Stamp and Gene Hackman, all those, actors were just really on point and, really at their peak during the 70s. And so I think that, bringing them in really helped give the film some really good star power. Because originally they wanted to have a big name as Superman for this film. They were like considering Al Pacino. Imagine Al Pacino as Superman. I'm Superman. Like how would that have worked? I just don't get that. And they had several other like big names around the time that were big in the 70s and stuff like that. And it just like, eventually it was because of how good Christopher Reeve's audition went that he actually ended up getting the role. Because they saw that he had a great vulnerability to himself and just how he reacted. He seemed like Superman. He seemed like he stood for, justice and truth. And that's one of the reasons why he ended up getting the role. Same thing with Margot Kidder, getting Lois Lane. One of the things that drew them to wanting to hire her out of the other 100 actresses was the fact that her clumsiness. That was something that they thought would be perfect for Lois Lane in the film because Clark being kind of clumsy, they thought, why wouldn't the woman he loved be somewhat clumsy too? And so, she ended up having a really great audition, and that she ended up getting it too out of 100 other actresses that were vying for the role. Originally, Marlon Brando was not the original choice for Jor-El. It was actually Keenan Wynn, who was a big staple at the time, in the 70s and 60s. So that he was in a whole bunch of Westerns. He was in a whole bunch of Disney movies. He was a big actor, and unfortunately, he had to drop out because of health concerns, and that's why Marlon Brando got the role. Marlon Brando ended up making in 1978 $3.7 million for 12 days of work. 3.7 in 1978. Wow, that's pretty impressive. For 1978. Even though he's a big actor, but if you think about it, in the 1970s, I think maybe most people like top tier actors will make maybe $1 million at that time because it wasn't common for anybody to make more than $1 million at that time. And so I thought that was kind of interesting that wow, for 12 days of work he got 3.7 million, and I'm like, okay. And the fact that he had cue cards all around the set for when he did his scenes, so that he could make the best. As he put it, he said, "Be spontaneous," is what he said. It helped him to be more spontaneous as he's doing his roles. So that was kind of interesting too. A little fact. But this actually, Superman 1 and 2 were actually supposed to be filmed together, or were filmed together. And actually, during the production of 2, Richard Donner actually was fired from the role, from his directing role, and it was Richard Lester that took over, and hence why he gets credit for the second film. But I thought it was interesting that they were filming both films at the same time. So I think that that was an interesting little tidbit too. But anyways, I think that this film is one of those films that you're just kind of like, oh, okay. Some people are gonna love it, some people are gonna hate it. back in 1978, making 300 million worldwide is pretty good. So I think that this film has stood the test of times with so many people still loving it these days. All right, so this was made for a budget of 55 million. Like I said, it made 300 million in the box office worldwide. It ran for 143 minutes. That's the theatrical cut, which there's actually a director's cut, which is actually 3 hours and 8 minutes long, which I think is interesting. I've never seen that one, so I'd eventually like to watch that one eventually at some point. But Superman as a character has always been just a great character in general. A lot of people love him. There's others that care less about him. There's people that are more Batman fans. There's people that are more Marvel fans, and stuff like that. But I think Superman really, just like Captain America, it really represents, the USA. And, you feel like whenever you're rooting, woo, woo, USA, USA. So it's always fun to talk a little bit about Superman, just kind of what a cool character he was. All right, so getting into the movie. So we start off on the planet Krypton, where Jor-El, a member of the Kryptonian High Council, sentences criminals General Zod, Ursa, and Non to the Phantom Zone. He warns the council that Krypton will be destroyed by the exploding red supergiant sun, but they dismiss his concerns. Before the planet's destruction, Jor-El and wife Lara send their infant son Kal-El to Earth, where his unique physiology grants him evolving superhuman abilities. Kal-El's spaceship touches down near Smallville, Kansas. Found by Jonathan and Martha Kent, who are astonished when the infant lifts their truck. They adopt him, naming him Clark. As he grows, hiding his powers, Jonathan believes Clark was sent to Earth for a special purpose. Years later, after losing Jonathan to a fatal heart attack, a teenage Clark is contacted by a glowing green crystal from his spaceship that is hidden in the barn. This leads him to the Arctic, where a fortress of solitude echoing Krypton's architecture ascends from the ice. Inside, Jor-El's hologram reveals Clark's heritage and trains him for 12 years. Emerging in a blue and red suit bearing the crest of the House of El, he is cautioned against changing human history. So we'll stop there. And at this point, I just kind of want to mention all the scenes on Krypton, all the very white suits they're all wearing, the look of them and stuff like that, totally makes me think of Tron. And I'm wondering if Tron got an idea for their development of the film from those suits, because the glowing white, like, almost looks like black screen or like glow in the dark stuff. It totally made me think of Tron. So I think that's kind of an interesting little effect that they used in this. At the time in the 70s, that was actually one of the things that this movie won. It actually won for special effects in 1970. So going around the table, what are your guys' thoughts on this section leading up to? And I'll start with you, Mr.
Awesome, right? I mean, this beginning part is one word to describe it is epic. I mean, Star Wars, and so much bigger than Empire, Return of the Jedi. So like this was such a big the now Fortress of Solitude, because in the comic books at that time, the Fortress of Solitude was just like just so and like he had to have this big key he had to lift and open the door. Here is like from Krypton, and it's this crystalline alien technology, and man, that opening beginning where Jor-El Ursa into the Phantom Zone, it's like so like intense and creepy. Like I was like, what is going on? Like they're spinning. It's like whoa. Never saw it in this movie until the sequel, but like I mean, Terrence Stamp, great actor, so popular. I mean, like this guy, like, moments he discussed with Jor-El, it's like you can tell they know each other, before the movie, it's like everything there conveys, detail of the history. And yeah, the special effects is phenomenal in this sequence. I mean, the suits is something that like rarely you do. Like I think I heard from the behind scenes, they use like I think aluminum something to light up the suits. That's something they haven't done before, so it's so inventive they did here. yeah, I heard, Brando being very lazy, and the behind scenes stuff, because, you have to remember, this is right after The Godfather. I mean, he was already a best actor, I mean, a two-time Oscar winner. So he already had the Godfather pedigree. So he was already, top actor during the 70s. So, like, of course, he was picked for Drell. And despite his, his method, I think he's amazing Drell. I like Russell Crowe as my favorite Drell. I think he was really good in Man of Steel, but Brandon brings the, like, presence and the, like, authority as Drell. And just one trivia thing with Brando he did that actually affected the comic books was the symbol. So, like, if you pay attention to the beginning here, he has the Superman symbol here, and that is something that never, like, if you know your origin story with Superman, he gets his costume from, from his mom, Martha. Here, because Brando apparently wanted to be Superman, like, he wanted to wear the Superman symbol, and so they allow him. Because you notice in this movie, you see the crestus for each of the individual Kryptons here, and of course, the House of L has the Superman logo. That became a big change and big lore thing in the comic books and the movies. Like, even Man of Steel, they say that the S is, stands for something, and it's part of the House of L, sort of like Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. Like, that's the house of that particular family. And the fact that Brando did it affected how we think of how Superman got the S. So really like crazy to hear that trivia, and, like, it just shows how Brando just did this one accidental thing and became a important thing in the comic books. The destruction of Krypton is really impressive. It's very disastrous kind of film, and I think it's well done by the effects. And I think that's really it. And then when we get into Smallville, it's like we don't spend too much time with Smallville, but, like, it reminds you of, like, some of the 70s stuff, like what's that TV show, Little House in the Prairie? Like, it reminded me of that. Like, if you've seen that show, or, like, those type of shows in the 70s or now, it has that feel of, like, American kind of, Western kind of thing. And that scene is great. And of course, the Kemp parents are, briefly here, but I think the father does what he could do as a father, like him telling his son that you're here for a reason is a really great line. And his death, I mean, when I was a kid, I was shocked that they killed Jonathan. His heart, like, such a believable thing. Like, it really grounds Superman. Like, despite he's so powerful, but he was unable to save his dad. It's really sad, and it just makes me care more about Christopher Reeve's Superman here. And that's another big thing. The death of Jonathan, that was something that we didn't do up to this movie, and that was a big change. It's a good change, because it just shows that Superman is this powerful person, but this movie shows that he knows that he's the powerful person, but he is also knows his limits. He cannot save people all the time. Like, unfortunately, his dad was one of them, and I think, killing his dad here made a lot of sense, and just shows how, death. Sometimes you can't save anyone as a hero like Superman. So I think that was a good change from the comic books in that time, and then it affected, now, like, sometimes we do kill Jonathan. It's just depending what kind of story you tell with Superman. Sometimes we keep the Kemp parents alive, and some, like the new Superman movie, we kept them alive. So, but don't expect that they will probably kill Jonathan later on in the sequels, maybe, but we'll see. But yeah, and then after that, of course, he gets this telepathic call from the crystal, and then when he says his goodbye to his mom, is very emotional. Like, that scene, like, it's like literally like a Little House of Perry, like him saying goodbye to his mom. You see the I don't know what you call that, like the corn hay or something like that, the field. So beautiful. I mean, the cinematography for this film is really great. And just wrapping up, the cinematographer Jeffrey, how you say, Osworth, who passed away during this film, he did such a great job of cinematography the film, and it was really sad that he didn't get nominated. That was something that Richard Donner was very pissed off about when the Oscars came during that year. But without him, this film doesn't look great, and this film is so beautiful photographed. So that's my thoughts. I mean, the beginning is top notch. It's like it gets you into the mood of Superman. Like these moments, you forget you were watching a Superman movie, and that's it. We're in a comic book movie. So I love the beginning because it's so epic. Like you see the whole filmmaking.
Thank you, sir. Excellent job. All right, thoughts, sir, on the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's as far as like this film, if anything, it's like because there's some really parts of the movie in the middle, and towards the end there's some really slow slow section. The Marlon Brando appearance or whatever, how they handled in the film, I don't know, like I kind of like explain a little bit more like about like the Kryptonian technology, just because like it seems like the way that they depicted the capabilities of like the Kryptonian technology in the the cave or whatever were almost like really powerful. You know what I mean? Like so I guess my point is just that I didn't really in my personal other experiences with the introduction of Superman, I don't remember Jor-El or like his capabilities or whatever like in his role in the Superman's backstory, him being quite so powerful to be able to like talk directly back and forth like that and everything, like whenever he wants and all that kind of stuff. I don't know about that. But yeah, I mean, overall, like it was interesting seeing them use a different actor, for like teenage Clark, versus like adult Clark, after his time at the Fortress of Solitude. I thought that was like a neat, thing that they did there. Nowadays they don't do that anymore. They just de-age everybody. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously not a lot of action or anything like that occurs, in this movie in general, but like especially right in the beginning. The introduction of like the Earth family, and all that was is cool. It is touching, I guess, and has like a 1970s vibe to it, like a lot of the film does, which is cool. Yeah, I mean, for 1978, I guess how the depiction of the Fortress of Solitude was pretty good, for then. It looks kind of shitty now, but just a lot of like glass tubes everywhere, kind of like that seems to be like the main vibe they got going on there. Yeah, shout out to CD Stein and Nilab Gupta in the comment section, and that's pretty much all I got to say, sir.
All right, excellent, thank you, and yeah, shout out to CD Stein and Nibla Gupta. Hello to you, and welcome, CD. How we doing? So yeah, I can see that him and Andreas are having a conversation. So yeah, we got great stuff. Always love having CD in the comment section. Always glad to have you around, sir. All right, so great job, guys. Before we move on to the next section, I want to get kind of your guys' thoughts on what did you think about the scene where Clark is running past the train and him dodging the train. What were you guys' thoughts on that scene? Because nobody really mentioned it, so I was curious. For the special effects for the time, I mean, nowadays they look campy as shit, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are. Starting with you, Jeff.
I don't really have any. I mean, it's just another scene that's there in the film. You know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, besides that, there was nothing really about it that stood out to me.
Andres?
Can you repeat that question again? What part?
The scene where he's running against the train as a teenager.
Oh, that. I mean, I liked it. I don't mind it. I mean, they were trying to do his super speed. That's like, you know, because he rarely does his super speed in these movies. Only only Man of Steel, you like kind of saw like super speed, you know, by whatever the Cortonian name was. But yeah, but one thing. Oh, actually, brought up that train. It does have a cameo from the George Reeve show. The Lois Lane actress. You saw that kid that just saw Superman doing the super speed when he was going past the train. The actress, no, Neil. That's the actress from the George Reeve show. She cameoed there. If you wanted to know, there was a cameo from one of the George Reeve show. But yeah, I didn't mind that scene. I thought, you know, look, the special effects are dated, some of them, but some of them are really good. It's just like, you know, it's just Prime, and I'm more open minded. You know, look, this effects are not as impressive as the Star Wars trilogy. You know, the original ones. Like, I mean, nothing can top that because, you know, there was just more modern technology. So yeah, the train is fine. I mean, it's funny, it's fun. You know, that's the point of the scene. You know.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, guys. I watching it last night, I was just kind of cracking up, going, "Oh my gosh, this is so dated," and I'm just cracking up at it, going, "What the hell am I watching?" Like how he was running, it just looked like he was like,
yeah.
I was just laughing, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I mean, you know, just like CD is saying in the comments, yeah, this was groundbreaking for 1978. So I mean, in 1978, that was absolutely fantastic. I'm sure, just like with the flying and everything and all that kind of stuff. So you know, it's just funny watching it now, not realizing like watching it even 20 years ago, it didn't seem that campy. But now watching it, you know, 20 years later, almost 50 years old now, it looks campy as hell. It cracks me up. I'm just like, wow. I'm like, I can't believe how far we've come with flying in movies since then. And, you know, I mean, they were innovative. They were innovative at the time for making Superman fly. So big kudos to them for making that achievement. And kudos to Christopher Reeve too, because when they did the first couple of the shots of trying to do the flying, it looked even worse than it does in the film. And he actually improvised and made it look better. So hence we get that how it looks in the movies, it looks so much better. So thanks to Christopher Reeve. So kudos to him for that. All right. So moving on. So Clark is hired as a reporter for the Daily Planet in Metropolis. Excuse me. Burger down the throat.
Okay there?
Yep. He is drawn to Lois Lane. After saving her from a helicopter accident, Clark secretly uses his powers in public acts of heroism, gaining immediate fame as the Caped Wonder. Perry White, the Daily Planet's chief, seeks more information on this new hero. In costume, Clark later visits Lois, taking her on a flight, leading her to coin his name, Superman. Criminal mastermind Lex Luthor discovers a joint U.S. Army-U.S. Navy missile test and plots to target the San Andreas Fault. With reprogrammed missiles. Though one is misdirected by its bumbling assistant, Otis, suspecting Superman's interference, Lex identifies a Kryptonian meteorite lethal to Superman. With Otis and his girlfriend Eve Tessmacher, Lex retrieves it and traps Superman in his lair, revealing his plan to sink the western U.S., making his desert land prime coastland. He weakens Superman using the meteor, now known as kryptonite, and informs him of his misdirected missile set for Hackensack, New Jersey. We'll stop there. Hackensack, New Jersey. Why they chose that particular city in New Jersey cracks me up, but that's what they decided to go with. But the whole plot here cracks me up so bad with what Lex Luthor's trying to do. I mean, it's pretty basic Lex Luthor. And it's so Lex Luthor, but I think Gene Hackman does such a great job as Lex Luthor in this. I think one of his funniest things is that he insisted on not shaving his head for the role. He wouldn't do it. Same thing. At first, he had a mustache. Jesus. He had a mustache that he wouldn't shave off. But Richard Donner got him to do it because he said he'd shave off his if he shaves off his. And so he got him to shave at least the mustache off. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Another interesting thing is that Otis and his girlfriend, Eve Tessemacher. Eve Tessemacher is actually an amalgamation character. In the new Superman film, the blonde, funny chick that is infatuated with Jimmy Olsen, that's actually supposed to be a version of Eve Tessemacher, who also was in Smallville, who was in several other Superman iterations. And I think that's funny that chick played Eve Tessemacher. And I think for, at the time, I thought she was the actress they got was absolutely gorgeous. That scene where she's lying by the pool in that bathing suit, I was like, damn. And I was like really impressed with her acting ability too. So I thought she was a really great character that was fun to watch. But this whole section is just kind of, fun. You get the whole first flying with Superman, Lois and him, and that's where that sexual innuendos happened that Jeff was talking about earlier, saying that it was weird. And and it, I think that the reason why it probably felt weird is because it was supposed to be awkward. It was supposed to be nerdy love. And I think that's the reason why it came off how it does, is because it's supposed to be between two nerdy people that are in love with each other. So I think they try to play off of that in this film, not making it more of like a normal romance like you see in other films. So I definitely think that's probably why it feels kind of weird and awkward how their relationship is. So I think they definitely were trying to play off that humor a little bit to differentiate. This film actually originally was 500 pages long. And when Richard Donner first got the script, he was like, this script is ridiculous. And he did all kinds of changes. They did all kinds of rewrites during filming to get it to a more interesting story. And that this is what they ended up with, which I think was pretty decent. I love that they're targeting the San Andreas Fault here, which is, a huge fault line that, goes down California and everything, which it is, a huge fault. If a giant earthquake was to happen on that, I mean, all of California would fall into the ocean. I mean, it is one of those faults that you do not want it to get wrecked. So I think that's funny that they were using that in this film at the time. But yeah, great section. I think it's really fun. So going back to you guys, get your thoughts on this. I'll start with you, Jeff. What are your thoughts on this section, sir, leading up to finding out about the missiles set for Hackensack, New Jersey?
The acquisition of the missiles is really silly. Super silly, man. And I mean, it's about as popcorny, I guess, as you could go, right? So yeah, I mean, I would think that actually stealing missiles or whatever would be in real life would be a lot more complicated than they depict it in this movie. I'm sorry, but as far as differentiating Clark Kent from Superman in this movie, there is none. You know what I'm saying? They look perfectly identical. There is no differentiation, really, except for Clark's glasses. That's it. So like there's just none. There's like no, they're symbiotic. They look perfectly identical. So how anybody would not realize that that's Superman, like I just don't even really understand that. But hey, it's part of the Superman lore, so it has to work, right? It's whatever. Yeah, I mean, the movie spends a lot of time, with Lois Lane, and a lot with Clark and all that, and then has like the big flying scene where they're together and all that. So there's like a big chunk of the film where there's really no action at all. It's just kind of pure dialogue. A lot of it all happening either at the Daily Planet or in between the two main characters. That dialogue is what you'd expect from 1978. So it's like, not exactly the most thrilling stuff at times. I mean, the actress that plays Lois Lane has her positives, I suppose, as far as, her portrayal of Lois in this film. And overall, however many times she played the role, if it was 4, that's crazy. I can't believe she did it 4 times. Yeah, I don't want to beat up her rendition. She did some good things, but overall, I don't know. I mean, I could have imagined them, going in a different direction with Lois than they did. I guess I would say. Although I'm not really sure who else you would go with, back then in 1978 either. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah, I mean, the way they handled the kryptonite, like subduing Superman with the kryptonite, was kind of like silly too. Like, just the way it was depicted or looked on screen or whatever, like it looked kind of silly. That chick that you were talking about, Cyber, that like freeze him so he can go and save the day or whatever, save the world, save California or whatever, like kissing him, like before she frees him or whatever, was really odd, I thought. But then again, it's 1978, so like whatever, right? Whatever, I don't care. Teach their own. I just thought that was kind of weird, man. Like kind of like in that weird way where during The Last of Us season 2, some of us were weirded out by the lesbian scenes. They felt really weird, like awkward almost. And that's kind of how it was with some of this sexual stuff in Superman for me. It was just awkward. Are
you trying to say it was too PG for you? More too G for you?
Yeah, I guess so. Just awkward, not my kind of sexy, or my kind of deal, But I understand that they were, for its time, you have to, you've got to, you got to, take into consideration the real time, on-screen value for that time period, in the late 1970s, going into the early 80s. And again, it's already been mentioned, the sorts of groundbreaking, sci-fi, style films that came out, similar to that same, time period, in terms of Star Wars and, Dune comes out a couple of years down the road after this, you know what I'm saying? And, Battlestar Galactica came out, in the late 70s. So, there was a lot of, obviously a lot of, Jaws, a lot of cutting edge stuff, was coming out right at that time period. Yeah, I mean, of course, $300 billion, is a lot of money, to be made, for a film. in 1978. That's definitely blockbuster territory. So, the film deserves its credit, for that. And yeah, I mean, the way that I will say that for 1978, I do definitely think that the way that they showed Superman flying and all that kind of stuff was very, for its time, very, very, cutting edge, very unique. And that's it pretty much.
Thank you, Jeff. Good job, sir. 10,345,361 points for you. Going over to you, Andres, the pop culture guy, Mr. Time Cop, Mr. Toxic Avenger. Your thoughts, sir, on this portion of the film?
Toxic Avenger. Anyway. Let's see what I want to start with. I mean, this part is amazing. Like, this is the movie you wanted to see, Superman the movie. So we're gonna see Superman full on action, which is great. This last discussion with the special effects. I mean, I disagree. I don't think we haven't had a great flying. Despite the events of technology, like it looks better than this, but at the same time, I think Christopher Reeve is the best special effect. He really knows how to fly. Where I get you're trying to keep your actors safe, but like I just feel like Christopher Reeve really like made you believe that someone can actually fly, and like whenever he flies on screen, it feels real. Where like a lot of times when they do fly in those movies like The Matrix, Reloaded, or the new Superman movies, sometimes the CGI takes away that believability. But I just think Chris really nails that. And another thing, I disagree with Jeff here. Reeve does play Superman and Clark Kent very differently. Like if you pay attention, like especially when he comes back to like Lois in the apartment to like as Clark Kent, there's this one scene where he takes off his glasses and he pulls up his posture up like Superman, and then when he thinks he wants to reveal his secret identity to Lois, he patched down and like he changed his voice to this like very like nerdy kind of like person, like a very low high pitch instead of like the more strong low pitch that you think of him as Superman. So like he really does differentiate his portrayal as Superman and Clark Kent. And it's not a requirement. I mean, a lot of actors of Superman, like Dean Cain, didn't do sort of that really in Lois and Clark. There's just a couple that did it. I mean, George Reeves didn't do like he was just George Reeves as Superman, like in and out as Superman Clark Kent. So, but when Christopher Reeve took over this role, he really made like the effort to make completely tell different postures and way how Clark Kent was different from Superman and stuff like that. So like everyone was disbelieved. There's no way Clark Kent could be Superman. So I think Chris really made the roles different when when he had to do it. So and then you get Lex Luthor. I mean, I agree with you, Jeff. I mean, Cyber, my God. Lex Luthor. We lost the late great Jake Hackman. Jake Hackman was a great actor, amazing, love him. Like if you have seen his films, like The Conversation, The French Connection, the role of Tenenbaums, Unforgiven, and this, like he's an amazing actor. I like this Lex Luthor. I mean, it's not the mad scientist Lex Luthor during this time, and also like he was not the businessman Lex Luthor that we had. That was right after like the late 80s. So like that wasn't a thing. That was right after Crisis and when John Byrne did the Man of Steel run in 1986. That's when we got businessman Lex Luthor. I think this Lex Luthor is good. The plot is, I mean, look, you got Superman who's super powerful. Like, what are you gonna do? So I think the fact is Lex beat him like very intelligently is pretty neat. I mean, I know you guys haven't seen a lot of Superman stuff, but like every Superman show like constantly use kryptonite to like just depowers Superman. But the fact this movie you only have one kryptonite, when he he got tricked by Lex, to open that case, it is really like intense and scary because he really got outsmart by this this con artist, like super villain. So I think the kryptonite scene was like actually in good use compared to like other things I saw with Superman Medium where they use kryptonite. Even the new one, like it was good, but I'm like, okay, whatever. And then and if the minions of Lex is fun. I mean, oh my god, like Ned Beatty is so funny as Otis. Like I know you guys laugh at the part when Lex tells him, Otis, you're a follow again, and then he did his cat like this, and like he like accidentally bumped the lamp. Is so funny. I just laughed so hard. And then like Lex comment is like, yeah, see you doing your cat flicks. It's funny. Yeah, and Eve Tempmaster is hot. I agree with you, Slavery. She's wonderful. It was great that James Gunn used her again in the movie. That is Eve Textmacher. And by the way, Otis is also in that movie. The big chunky black guy, that was Otis. So everyone knows that we did have Otis in the new Superman movie. And both of them were in Supergirl. That was the last time I saw them in any live action thing. That was the Arrowverse show. What else? The Lois. I think. I know, like, because the relationship with Lois and Superman has changed so much. You have to understand this was a completely traditional superhero relationship. Like for Superman and Lois, like they were not married yet. That was like late 90s, and New 52 stuff. So she doesn't know Superman, and I think the chemistry between her and the chemistry between Mark Keir and Reeves is really great. I mean, like when Lois is with Superman, you have to understand she doesn't have her like confidence and like her like her toughness like she does with Clark, because like Clark is he's not this like macho man, like this very physical handsome man like Superman is. Like Superman is this like oh my god, this like angel just came down to this earth, and like she's like head over heels. That's how Lois is for Superman. And that was always the part of Lois and Superman. When after Lois finds out that Superman is Clark Kent, of course the relation is different, where they feel more comfortable and less, as Jeff, you were saying before, was it clumsy and awkward, and but you have to remember this was the relationship that they were in during this time, and by the way, I mean, this was the 70s. They really had like, just like the 80s, they had so many like sexual innuendos I didn't catch on. Like, I mean, come on. Like, she asked him how big are you, but then she switched how tall are you. Like, I never caught that as a kid, but that's just how good this movie is. So it's not for kids. It has a lot of adult humor. It's just like it's not as like how to say, it's not like Back to the Future humor where like they're very overt with adult humor, or like the Goonies, like some of the Steven Spielberg stuff, like where the adult humor there is more overt. Here, the adult humor is more subtle, and it's like you have to pay attention to that. The whole land plot thing with Lex, I mean, look, I think that was just something that was going on in the 70s, like a lot of real estate thing was very big during the 70s, I think. So it made sense that they were going to use that for Lex. Yeah. And two trivia things. Actually, I just want to quickly pick up. I'm trying to figure out, oh God, I forgot it now. But anyway, the cop that was following Otis, his other partner was Richard Donner's cousin, who's going to be the captain in Lethal Weapon movies. That was great to see him there. He pops up again in Superman 2, in the NASA thing. And the other thing I like was just the really cool references they acknowledged with Superman. Like, it was fun when Superman does see Lois in trouble, he sees the phone booth, which is, you know, the more updated one. So that was really not, because, you know, he always changed the phone booth. Then another major one was the kryptonite case. That I don't know if Cyber, you were going to bring that up, but that case is from another popular movie that I just mentioned recently from 1977. But I'm gonna say that I don't know if you know that, Cyber. The case is from another popular sci-fi franchise. So it was very funny to hear that trivia. But yeah, I really dug this sequence. Is this the movie we want to see, the Superman movie?
I was not going to bring up that, so if you'd like to mention it, go right ahead.
Yeah. Just quickly, that case is actually the case that was holding Luke Skywalker's what was this? Luke's father's lightsaber from The New Hope. If we didn't know that, that was a funny thing that I find out years later. But yeah, so I like this section. It's fun. Like, you get Superman to do things like he saves a cat, he stops the robbers, he stops a cat burglar, he saves Air Force One. So, like, what else do you don't like about this movie? So I really dug this half point of the film.
Thank you, sir. Points for you too, sir. Yeah, I mean, this movie is right up there with a guilty pleasure type of film. It's also just a really fun film. Like I said before, a lot of people love it, a lot of people dislike it. There's people that are kind of neutral about this film, but I think, you know, being the very first, you know, movie version of Superman, it has a lot of sentimental value to a lot of people. And I don't know how you know, Schuster and Spiegel felt about it, you know, because they were still alive when this came out. So I'm not sure how they felt about it, or if they thought it gave praise to the comics or not. But I do think that it really does a good job of presenting the comics in a very good light and giving you that, you know, American way that Superman is all about. So I think that they did a good job with that with this one. All right. So, to the epic conclusion of Superman 1978. Concerned for her mother in Hackensack, Tessmacher frees Superman, urging him to first stop the eastbound missile. He sends it to space, but misses the westbound missile, which triggers severe earthquakes in California, endangering landmarks like the Golden Gate Bridge and Hoover Dam. Superman counteracts the devastation by mending the fault line. As Superman rescues Lois is trapped in her car by an aftershock. Suffocating before he can save her, distraught and is enraged over his failure to save Lois, Superman disregards Jor-El's warning against altering history. Hating Jonathan's belief in his purpose, he flies around Earth, reversing time to prevent Lois's death and the missile's destruction. After saving the West Coast, he imprisons Luthor and Otis, then soars into the sunrise. And that is the end. All right. So what do you guys think about the finale of the film? What do you think about the great emotion Christopher Reeve exudes at this point? When he's like, oh, and then he goes, oh, and flies around the earth and stuff like that. And, you know, I think that, you know, a lot of people, any reviews I've seen recently have been using that clip quite a bit. That, you know, Christopher Reeve being really angry in the end of Superman. And it is, I think it's a really decent acting, you know, job there. I think that he really did a good job of, you know, feeling like that was real. And I was really impressed with that. Anyways, so what are you guys' thoughts on this ending? And I'll start with you, Sir Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's as far as like action goes, you know, it's 1978, so it does not look all that great. You know, the ending, it's you know, it's pretty you know, campy and you know, you know, just like the whole movie, it has just that really hardcore 1970s feel to the, you know, to everything, you know. But Gene Hackman's you know, version of Lex Luthor is very interesting, you know. And I think he was a really great casting for that role for back then, you know. He just seems like a perfect fit for him. He at the very least makes the character like entertaining in the movie, you know. He does. Just by like his presence, you know, Hackman's presence, he elevates the character, I think. You know, his ambitions aren't really very well like flushed out in this film. I didn't think, you know, they could have done a better job with that, maybe. You know, like his reasoning for wanting to take out Superman is like very limited. You know, there isn't like a lot really there, you know, as far as like why he wants to do it, you know, as opposed to like, you know, the current Superman that's still in theaters right now, where, you know, like that version of, you know, Luthor is very, you know, like clear about like, you know, the reasons why, you know, A, B, C, and D, you know, Superman has to die, you know, and like go away. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, the revealing of the secret identity right off the bat in the first film, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but you know, it's still, it makes sense, I guess, you know, since that's what does ultimately happen in the Superman story. Yeah, you know, of course, Superman's like, you know, gonna save California and you know, stop the missile and all that. Like, you know, there's never really much of a doubt as to whether or not that's what's going to happen in the movie, you know. So really wasn't a lot of like you know, super, you know, excitement going on for me, you know, watching this thing all the way through. I'll just say that you know, it's a pleasant film, you know, to watch. Definitely you know, deserves all, you know, all the credit that, you know, it gets for, you know, for being a classic. And yeah, I mean, yeah, Christopher Reeve's depiction of Superman is great. You know, he looks awesome playing the character. I enjoyed the aspect of seeing him on film again. A real treasure, you know. And didn't get to really do a lot of stuff, unfortunately, you know, before he got hurt. So you know, good actor though. I'm not sure what else Margot Kidder was really in, you know, besides the Superman films. I think she did some TV at one point. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, you know, overall it's an okay film. You know, I prefer watching the Superman movies that are more newer age, you know, I think, and that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you, sir. Margaret Kidder was in the original Black Christmas in a couple years before this, in '74. She was in a whole bunch of those 70s horror films during this time. She was in a Jack and the Beanstalk film in the early '90s. She's been in quite a few things over the years, not just TV, but movies as well. And she was a fun actress. I always enjoyed her. Anyways, all right, great job, Jeff. Another billing points for you, sir. Going over to you, Mr. Pop Culture Guy. What are your thoughts, sir, on the end?
Yeah, the end is good. I mean, Superman time travel, use time travel to save Lois. I mean, that wasn't the original ending. It was for the sequel, but because they were behind schedule with the first film, they decided to move that up into the first film because it was the impressive thing they had. So it was a good way to end this you know, standalone solo film because they didn't know if it was going to be successful. So as is, the time travel, like turning the world around is an okay finale, but the I say the missile, you know, causing the St. Andreas fault was and that whole like disaster is so spectacular. It's so exciting. I do agree there's some shots that are a little like outdated. There's one scene where the I don't know, one of the water, when Superman would push the rocks there, like you could tell it's a model, like a a prop, and it's because the scale wasn't right, because one of the production designer unfortunately had to do Moonraker, the next James Bond movie in the 70s that was going to go to space. He wasn't available to continue with the props and the models of the land and stuff like that that was during that final sequence. But yeah, this final sequence where like everything is like getting torn apart by the earthquake is so spectacular. I mean, when Superman like dives in and like holds the railings for the train to pass through underneath him is really cool, very spectacular. And then him going underneath the descent vaults and then pushing up everything and then up to the ground was like wow, all spectacular. But yeah, I do agree that some of the shots there are a little outdated. And yeah, then you get the iconic Lex Luthor revealing that he's bold. That was fun, and then just seeing Otis copying what he was saying is hilarious. And then you get the iconic, Superman passing through the screen and looking at us. That's so iconic. He does that three times. And of course, Ralph copies that and returns, and then of course, the Arrowverse special, the Crisis on Infinite Earths. But yeah, this finale is good. Nothing, nothing to high mark. It's what they have here, and this is what Superman should do, like saving, stopping these kind of disastrous like earthquakes or like storms, stuff like this way he has to do, and it fits right to this movie. And for me, this is a good Superman movie. I do respect the other Superman films, but sometimes they miss the mark here and there. I think the new Superman movie hit the right mark, and I think that was close beating 78. But for me, it was just like there was just a lot of things they had that I didn't need for that new movie, where like I just want to focus on Superman. This movie does focus that Superman and all that, and his supporting characters, which is good. But yeah, that's all I had to say. I think it's a good ending, and I'm very kind of curious how our ratings is going to be. But yeah, I love this film. I think it's one of the best Superman movies. I mean, if you add the other stuff you like, but yeah.
Thank you, sir. Really well done. Another billion points for you, sir. Great job. Great job. Excellent job. You are the master of Superman, sir. We all know you time traveled back in time to actually read the actual original comics, and you met Christopher Reeve and made friends with him and were on the movie set and all that kind of good stuff. So we know that as a time cop, you were able to do that. So great job. Great job. Anyways, yeah, I think that the ending's pretty fun. I enjoyed it. I think it's a really fun ending. I think it was a good idea for them to take that ending and put it into this film versus the second film, especially with all the kind of hokey dokiness that went on with 1 and 2, and how kind of it got all screwed up because of the firing of Richard Donner and stuff like that. So I think that was a very smart choice. I mean, I think Margot Kidder's dying in that scene was pretty funny. It wasn't very serious. It was kind of comical. But at the same time, still, that when after she is dead and Clark sees that and he's like, oh, it's just freaking phenomenal. I absolutely love it. And I think Christopher Reeve did such a great job. And I think it's a very great ending to a very good classic take on Superman. I think that this film hits all the marks for a Superman film versus the new one. I think Man of Steel hits it very well. I think Superman Returns did it very well. I think the other three predecessors, sequels to this film, do it. Unfortunately, the new movie was not a Superman movie. It was a Justice League movie. It was a League movie. It was a meta-human movie. It was not Superman. It just was this one I feel is far superior to that one, especially for it being so much older than it. Also because it just, I think Christopher Reeve is a far better Superman than David Cortesen is. So I think overall this is just a really fantastic film. So that is the conclusion of that film. So let's get ratings. What would you give it, Andreas?
I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10. I mean, you have to understand this is the movie that gave us the superhero film Sandra. Like without this, we don't get Batman 89, we don't get X-Men, Spider-Man, the MCU. Like if you watch those films, they are inspired by this film. I mean, especially the Spider-Man trilogy. Like the first Spider-Man is like literally similar to the first movie. Spider-Man 2 is like Superman 2, where he lost his powers, and then Spider-Man 3, I can't believe it, is like Superman 3 without Richard Pryor, or and then I mean, we have a bad Spider-Man, but it makes more sense than what Superman 3 is.
Superman 3 is the best movie ever.
Oh my! I know the reason I don't like Superman, because I just remember today I was like, one of these movies mentioned Colombia, and I forgot that Superman 3, some reason the bad guy wanted to take down my coffee, my home country, Colombia's coffee, for some reason. And like, I'm happy that Superman saved that, but I'm like, what we did? All right, like our Colombia coffee is great. But anyway, that's not here or there. But like, yeah. Oh my god, Superman. I mean Superman 4 is pretty bad. But yeah. 9.5 out of 10. I agree with Cyber here, because like the new one, I like the new one, but like the reason I like the new Fantastic Four movie is because that one felt like a Fantastic Four movie, where the Superman movie felt like it was half Superman, half like the Justice League, half, you were saying for Cyber, half many human thing, like it was half of something. And I'm like, just make a Superman movie. Just focus on his like supporting characters and his villain. That's all you need. I don't need this like shared universe of the DC universe. Like, say that for the sequels, And just watching this, it was great because it was Superman. You saw his planet, his father, the explosion of that, and then see Smallville, and then you got Superman versus Lex Luthor, which is great. And I agree with Jeff. It's different from the comic books and the new one, where it's more comic accurate. Lex hating, Superman, but this is it's fine. So I think this is a much still the best Superman movie in my opinion. So it's a 9.5 out of 10. So
all right, Jeff.
I'll give it a 7. I'll bump it up to a 7 because I know like how big a movie it is from like from the time period that it came out from. But it's an okay movie. It is, again, it's almost 50 years old. That's a really long time to have come out of a movie. Like very old movie.
Excellent. I give it a 10. I think it's fantastic. I think it's entertaining, and I think Christopher Reeve is the best Superman. Tied with Henry Cavill for me. Tied. But anyways, really fantastic. Really fantastic. Really enjoyed it. And I think it was very much ahead of its time for 1978. And just like everyone's kind of mentioned, it paved the way for all the other superhero films. It really did. This was the first superhero movie that was, a superhero movie. So I think that was very impressive for its time. And the fact that Richard Donner directed it, I always think that's really fantastic too, because he goes on to do the Lethal Weapons, Goonies, so many great films as well. So, I think that this showed his great directing talent. All right. So that is it for this review. Thank everyone for being here and talking about the Christopher Reeve Superman. And I'll push it over to you, Jeff, to plug us out.
All right, Cyber, you are up, sir.
All right, folks. So if you enjoyed me moderating or you enjoy me as on the guest panel, you can check out my solo content. You find me under Cyberneticshark. You find me on YouTube, TikTok, X. You'll find me on Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, pretty much everywhere. You hear my two recent reviews are the great How to Train Your Dragon live action remake and The Phoenician Scheme, which is Wes Anderson's newest film. If you haven't seen any of those, definitely check those out. Or my Running Man trailer reaction. You can check that out too as well. Most recent shorts. I think still our War of the Worlds. I just watched that the other day. Really well done film. Ice Cube's in it. Really fun on Amazon Prime. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Or if you haven't seen my mini review of Fantastic Four First Steps, check that out too as well. As always, we have more stuff up for you guys soon. More reviews, more trailer reactions, all that kind of good stuff. Keep on watching. Keep on trekking. Keep on listening to us here and watching us here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Don't forget to check out our podcast of the MCU's Bleeding Edge too as well, which is doing very well, by the way. And we appreciate y'all. You guys are rocking it. Keep on helping us grow, me and Andreas and the MCU's Bleeding Edge.
Okay, and Andres, the pop culture guy. There you go, sir. Have at it.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this awesome DC movie review on Superman, the classic 1978 film. It was a blast. So I was working on a project, not new content yet, but a new short I did. It was from the Fantastic Four movie from 2005, where Thing versus Mr. Fantastic. Check that out. So nothing special, happy August, by the way. Today is August 1st. Kind of crazy. So we're done with July. So new stuff you'll probably be expecting. So I think so my next short review will be Memento, the Christopher Nolan breakout film, because his birthday was 2 days ago. So it'll be good to do a short review on his phenomenal movie. Expect some Christopher Nolan reviews, maybe. I just had my Endor Season 2 review, so check that out. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now. No live streams, no new live streams for this week, but next week I need to change the date there. But just check out the previous ones. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. It was a blast.
All right, and I will see these gentlemen back together on Wednesday evening for Gods and Monsters, Justice League Gods and Monsters. Should be absolutely fabulous. And thank you, Cyber. Thank you, Andres. Folks, we will see you